Alright, so let's take a look at this now, rehash a bit, and I'll explain what I'm going to be doing today. So, you know, we have the locking nuts shimmed correctly, right? We know that's done. The neck is in the correct location, or close enough to being I mean, it's close enough for what we're doing to enable us to properly intonate the bridge. We've got a reference line marked here for the fretboard. Let me make sure, yeah, for the fretboard. And of course that's not going to matter, we're going to realign it anyway. The bridge is not intonated yet, so none of this is going to matter. And I marked off a reference point for the neck pickup, and I'm just doing this. Most people tell you to get the neck pickup as close to the fretboard as you possibly can. The reason for that is because theoretically you would want the pickup to be as close as possible to the center of the you know, like whatever your center vibration was. So like, for example, if you play open strings all the time, or almost all the time, you'd really want the pickup to be at the 12th fret, right? But anyway, that's ridiculous, and it can't happen that way, and we don't need it to, okay? But I always like to make sure that I leave enough room for the ring for the pickup, and to ensure that if anything ever happens, that you still have at least a solid slither between the fretboard and the pickup cavity. And that way, if anybody ever, including myself, if I did need to shift this neck back, which I don't think is going to happen, or I'd just go ahead and do it. But if it does have to go back, it's not going to have to go back more than 1 millimeter. So that's still going to give me, that would still allow 4 millimeters clearance between the fretboard and the start of the pickup pocket. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is I took the bridge back out, popped it out. Doing all this only takes a few seconds if you only have the 2 strings and you don't have the locks in. I'm going to pop the neck back out, and once the neck's back out, I'm going to mark the center for this. Actually, first, I'm going to draw myself some witness marks. Hold on one second. And there are the witness marks. That's just I'm going to use these to get the center. Okay, so what I did was I'd already generated a toolpath. This VCarve Pro software is very good, very handy. I'm liking it so far, but I'm not an expert with it. I haven't used it that much yet. I've gotten fairly quick with it, but there are some things that I need to take the time to learn how to do. One thing I don't like is when I generate a pocket, oftentimes it cuts one pass, retracts the Z all the way up, and then slowly plunges back in and does it, you know, the next path, and it retracts every time. So in the meantime, I'm using Notepad++, and what I'm doing is I'm just going through, because I've done a good bit of G-code programming in my former position, and what I do is I go through and add comments every time I'm doing a new pass or whatever. So what I did was I opened it in Notepad++ and went through and looked, and then every one of those areas where VCarve Pro did the retract the Z all the way up, what I did was I just went to however deep the initial cut was for that the last pass. I just retract it 1 millimeter above that, so it can move back over to the center without, you know, hitting anything or rubbing or whatever. So anyway, that knocks a buttload of time off of the toolpath, especially when we're going to do this outside pocket, right? And then we're going to turn around and we're going to do these 2 screw pockets. Right, these 2, that's all these are for. The screws and those 2 little metal tabs on your pickup. So anyway, right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the neck off. I'm going to mark the center, and we're going to go in there to the CNC machine, and I'm going to run this tool path, and what you're going to see is you're going to see the new neck pickup cavity. And anyway, I'll start recording as soon as I get it, the body clamped up. In fact, what I probably will do is, in fact, I will do that. I already did a video showing people how to align this, but just to be on the safe side, I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and show that again, just to be sure everyone sees how I'm aligning this, to make sure that my cut is parallel to whichever axis. Parallel. I usually use the X on my machine. So, but anyway, I'll demonstrate that again just to ensure everyone's seen it. So I have the bit, the engraving bit in now, and I've already aligned my workpiece. But what I did was I chose a point that was on my machine somewhere close to the center of wherever I could clamp my workpiece, and then I set that as my reference point for my X, so in essence my X0. And then what I did was I took my mark here, which is center point or close to it, I lined it here, okay, and moved the workpiece around with the clamps lightly snug in the back and lightly snug in the front. And then I set my jog distance for 10 millimeters. My machine's set up metric, and then Y minus. And the reason I do this is because, I mean, you could jog it with the joystick, but the joypad. The problem is with the joypad, it's too easy to accidentally move the X-axis. And on this machine, if you do that, you have to home it before you can use MDI mode to send it back where it was. All right, and you can see my mark there, and that is very close and plenty close enough. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this bit. I generated my tool paths already. I'm going to change this bit. I'm going to put my downcut end mill in here. Then I'm going to go touch off on the piece here to set the Z. My tool path is going to cut 19 millimeters, but it's a downcut bit, so it's not going to be precisely 19 millimeters. I'm not going to change it out for a pickup pocket. So what I'm going to do this time that's a little bit different than what you guys usually see me do, or what you saw me do last time, is I'm going to zero off of this note card, and then I'm not going to bump it down any, because I want my pickups, my pocket, to be somewhere between 17.5 and 19 millimeters, and really I would rather it be closer to 18 millimeters. Anywhere in that range is going to be fine. It's going to give me plenty of adjustment. Alright, so I'm going to change this bit out and touch off for the Z. Well, I take that back. First I got to touch off for the Y. So I showed you how to align it just then. I almost forgot. I would have remembered to do it, but I would not have remembered to record it. So let's go back down, and I'm going to get the engraving bit fairly close to the workpiece. It doesn't have to be exact. That's good enough. Now we're going to go to the Y. And I'm going to move the Y in jog mode, which really, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter. Like at this point, it doesn't matter if you want to jog it because we've already referenced the X. Now we're just trying to get the Y. And if we look there, that is plenty close enough. I'm trying to get where you guys can see it. Yeah, let's bump it back. Y negative. Okay, yeah, that's plenty close enough. Okay, so now I already have the X zeroed. There's the Y. And I need to hook my other laptop up to this. I haven't done it yet. I've just been too busy. Okay, so now I have the X and Y set. So now I'm going to move the Z up. I'm going to change this bit out. And then once I change the bit out, I'm going to touch off for the Z. Okay, and now I have changed out the bit. And I'm going to zero off of my workpiece here. I'm going to use this card. Okay, this is hard to do with one hand. It's best to have somebody helping you do this, at least running the camera. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's going to be my zero for my Z. Okay, so now we're ready. Alright, so I'll be right back. I'm going to put on my hearing protection and I'm going to put on a mask. I don't like to inhale sawdust. Okay, I'm going to vacuum this out and move the spindle out of the way, and just dry fit one of the pickups just to check and see what my pocket looks like. And there's my pickup pocket toolpath. There is the original manufacturer's toolpath, and there's my pickup sliding back in there. And see, there's a little bit of adjustment in it, but not a whole bunch. A little bit of slop where you can adjust it around as you need to. But I like that much better than this other. I don't know which. I mean, I guess they have the reasons for doing this, but and this right here is just because they use a larger bit. They use a 1/2-inch bit most likely, so they had a 1/4-inch radius, and I'm using a 1/4-inch bit, so I have an 1/8-inch radius. Now you can change this in my toolpath, but why would I? I don't. There's the pickup, and they're all basically like this footprint, so there's no point in having a larger radius on it. But anyway, there we go, and you can see a little bit of the line there, a shadow of it, and that's where the fretboard goes. And that gives me just enough adjustment that I'm going to be able to get that ring. And I'm not going to reuse these rings. I've got some metal ones. But there you go. That pocket used to be somewhere up here, if you remember. And now it's now it has this auger in here, and we have a solid cavity again for the pickups. So these I will probably drill out and glue a dowel in. These, a small dowel, and sand those. They're so small, I guess I could drill them out just enough to get the sawdust in there, and maybe use the super glue trick on there. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with my pick guard yet. I haven't thought that far ahead. I think I'm going to make an aluminum one and get that industrial plating that they use for like steps and stuff, step plate. And I think I may cut this out of step plate. Just don't know yet, because I'm probably going to use, I bought a snakeskin wrap. I'm thinking about putting a rattlesnake snakeskin wrap on here. Now I will point this out. I had a couple of blunders too. If you look here, you guys probably noticed how I'm having to think sometimes for a few seconds to think of just like simple everyday words when I'm recording, and that's because of exhaustion from my drive and my work. So I mean, like, I'm putting in 12 hours a day. If you count my driving time and everything, I'm putting in 12 hours a day. So when I come out here to do this, and I do this on like a Wednesday or Thursday, I'm usually pretty exhausted, so it's hard for me to think. And that particular day, I wanted to work on it so badly, I just came out here exhausted anyway, and I'd only had 4 hours of sleep, and I bumped it the wrong direction accidentally when I was going around this to give my first 1/4 of an inch or so to use my router, my standard router with the bearing bit, surfacing bit. And but I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal, so I didn't worry about it because I knew the fretboard covered it. There it is so far with the new pickup pocket, socket, whatever you want to call it, and the neck is actually seated in the right position for the scale now. And here it is with the some of the fill done. You won't be able to tell Death Clock ever owned it when I'm finished. But here, this is all done, and I guess I'll probably fill all of these holes. I did fill the ones that I already knew were like off. I'll probably go ahead and fill every one of these holes, sand it as smooth as I can, take these out, and go ahead and tape it off and prime it. I'm just trying to decide if I want to set this neck in. And the other issue is that, you know, there's a little slop here and here, and if I don't set the neck and fill it and all that, you know, and shim it and all that before I finish it, you know, there's probably going to be some little cracks, and I don't like the way that looks myself. But people like a bolt-on neck sometimes. It's not my preference, but some people like a bolt-on neck. I understand a lot of the reason. For example, you know, if you're, I think I mentioned this already, but the argument, you know, if your neck ever warps or anything, you know, you can replace the neck. And again, I still say, well, hey, how about if you just take care of your instrument, you know? But it does happen, even when you care for an instrument. It does sometimes happen if it wasn't, if the neck wasn't built right in the first place, assembled right in the first place. Cut. Really, it's the, you need a quarter sawn piece of material. Okay, just notice this. I didn't even notice that spot there. I'll probably fill it too really quickly with some sawdust and CA glue. I prefer that. I prefer to, my first preference is if it's a big, like if it's a big gouge or something, is to carve it out, cut it out, and glue in a piece of wood. But filling these little places like this with CA glue and sawdust is really about the same as filling it with wood. So anyway, the D-lambs, took care of that. It was only these two spots up here at the front of the pocket, the neck pocket. So, but anyway, now it just needs some sanding and primed and that kind of thing, and for me to decide if I want to glue this neck in. And even if I don't glue it in, I may want to do something about that to make it a little bit tighter fit. But anyway, there it is for now. And I'll get back on it another time.